Hello, math adventurers. Welcome back. If you joined me last time, we took a walk through the magical shapes forest and looked at all the 2D shapes that our forest friends could find. We talked about corners, parallel lines, sides of shapes, and put them into categories based on the number of sides. Today, we're going to build onto that knowledge and talk about composed shapes or composite shapes that are built out of smaller shapes. Did you know that little shapes can come together to make bigger shapes, just like we would combine twigs in the forest or leaves to make a nest? Well, today that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to make composed shapes. By the end of today's lesson, we are going to name some of our 2D shapes again and then use them to build or compose larger shapes. All right, let's take a walk through this story together called Forest Friend Shapes Galore. One sunny afternoon, Marvin Mouse was eager to explore. What new shapes can we find? Let's learn some more. Let's go out into the forest and explore what we find and try to find shapes of every kind. Sally Squirrel perked up, her tail flicking with glee. What kind of shapes, Marvin? What will we see? Let's go on an adventure and see what's ahead. We might even find shapes in the sky overhead. I'm going to pause for just a second. I don't normally pause in a story, but do you see a shape in the sky? Yes. And what shape is that? It's a circle. That's right. And we learned last time that a circle is round and continuous with 0 sides and 0 corners. All right, let's keep reading. Marvin smiled and nodded. Let's take a stroll. Finding wonders in nature is the goal. Shapes in real life are everywhere you go. Let's discover them and see what we know. The friends set off down the trail, walking with cheer, when they came across a patch of mushrooms. Oh dear! Look here, shouted Sally, and see what I found. The bottom of each mushroom cap is perfectly round. Gina Giraffe bent down, looking with care. I see some triangles on the mushrooms there. Their tops are pointed and the sides are straight. A real-world shape, so fun to create. Great observation, said Marvin with delight. Let's take this mushroom and explore it in sight. A circle here and a triangle there. We're seeing shapes everywhere. They continued their walk and soon they found a piece of wood laying on the ground. It looks like a sign, said Robert Rabbit with a grin. That's a rectangle, thin and long. Let's begin. He pointed to the wood, noticing its shape. It's a rectangle and that's no mistake. Now let's try breaking this piece into more. Could we divide it into smaller shapes galore? Gina Giraffe gasped. This new idea of mine is to cut the wood in half on the middle line. With a little break, they split it through. Instead of one shape, they now had 2. Sally Squirrel giggled. Look at these pieces. 2 triangles, perfect. This task never ceases. They're pointy at the top and the sides are straight. Let's put them back together to make something great. Marvin Mouse smiled. Yes, I agree. I wonder what the new shape will be. They lined up the triangles with points on each end and watched as the edges were beginning to blend. Look at that, said Sally with a cheer. We made a rectangle. It's perfectly clear. The 2 triangles fit together so fine, creating the first shape that was truly divine. I see it now, said Robert Rabbit with pride. 2 triangles can join to form a rectangle side by side. It's just like magic, but it's really quite true. Shapes combine to make something new. The forest friends laughed and cheered with pride. Their adventure had shown them shapes far and wide. They'd learned to compose shapes and break them apart. In the real world, shapes are a work of art. And as they sat down on a patch of soft moss, they shared their discoveries, learning so much across. From nature's own shapes, big and small, they'd seen how shapes can be everywhere after all. The end. Okay, so give me 2 thumbs up if you heard about some shapes in our story. Right? Good. All right, so what we're going to do before we learn about building shapes is we're going to walk back through our story, pointing out the shapes that you may have heard. I already showed you one. What was this? Yeah, this is a circle. We already said it has 0 sides, 0 corners. Do you remember any other circles from the story? I stopped and pointed out this one while we were reading. It said, let's go on an adventure and see what's ahead. We might even find shapes in the sky overhead. I normally don't interrupt my story, but I thought it was important to get you thinking about what shapes you might be able to spot in the story as I read. What other shapes did you see in this? What other circles did you see in the story? There was one more they talked about. Do you remember this page? In this page, they said, look here, shouted Sally, and see what I found. The bottom of each mushroom cap is perfectly round. Now, if you heard me say that but didn't know what it was, this top part of the mushroom is called the mushroom cap. And let's see if I can write on here to show you. Let's try this. This right here would be the bottom of the mushroom cap. Now, from where we're standing by the screen or at home, it kind of looks like an oval because it's kind of squished. But if we were standing where they're standing right underneath it, it would be a perfect circle. Okay, nice and round. Good job. What other shapes do you recall seeing in the story? What about this shape? Do you remember this one from our last time together? Yeah, this one's a triangle. It has 3 corners and 3 sides. Do you recall or remember any triangles from the story? Yeah, me too. Let's check it out. Gina Giraffe bent down, looking with care. I see some triangles on the mushrooms there. Their tops are pointed and the sides are straight. A real world shape, so fun to create. What it means by a real world shape is a shape that we actually would see out in the real world, not one that we've put together for you. So the triangles, we saw a few here in the design on top of the mushroom. And I even took a little clip over here of another page where the mushroom looked a little bit different, but still had the triangles. If you were with us last time, I brought some real world examples like a cracker or a picture of a yield sign. Those are real world examples. What else? Do you remember this shape? 4 equal sides, meaning they're all the same. 4 corners, 4 square corners even. And this is called a square. Very good. Did you see any squares in the story? I don't know that I remember any squares in the story, but I do remember another shape. What about this one? It also has 4 sides, but 2 sides are short and 2 sides are long. It also has 4 square corners. It's not quite the same as a square. It's a rectangle. Good. I do remember a rectangle being in this story, so let's take a look. It says, they continued their walk and soon they found a piece of wood lying on the ground. It looks like a sign, said Robert Rabbit with a grin. That's a rectangle, thin and long. Let's begin. So here you see the same thing. We have the 2 short sides and the 2 long sides. All right. What about this shape? Do you remember talking about this shape the last time we were together? Or maybe you just know. Yeah, this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides and also 5 corners. This one was called a pentagon. Now, this shape was not in our story that I remember, but we are going to talk about it later today. And what about this shape? Similar to the pentagon, this one's also fun to say. This is a hexagon. This has 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides and 6 corners. All right. Again, I didn't see a hexagon in our story today, unless you spotted something I didn't. But we are going to take everything we know about our shapes and put them to good use. Now, friends, I'm going to need a little bit of help. What shape do you see here? Yeah, I heard a couple different answers, so let me ask a better mathematical question. What smaller shapes do you see inside the larger shape? Yeah, that's what I was looking for, a square. So inside this large shape here, I have 2 squares. Now, what is the shape of the bigger shape? That's a whole mouthful. Let's try this. Here are the 2 squares, 1, 2. But what about this larger shape? What shape would that be? Yeah, You guys are super smart. This is a rectangle. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. 2 that are short, 2 that are long. Do you see how we composed or built a larger shape out of 2 smaller shapes? Well, that's what we're going to be doing today. What about this one? What do you see here? It's not a tower. I heard that. What is this? Yeah, let's count the sides to help us. We're going to talk about the larger shape, the composed shape. So let's count. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This has 5 sides. So what shape would that be? A pentagon, that's right. That's why we talked about that earlier. Now, what is this composed of? What is it made up of? There are smaller shapes inside. We have a triangle and we have 2, what? Squares. You see how we're using the smaller shapes that we know to build or compose larger shapes? What about this one? This one looks interesting. Reminds me a little bit of a book that's open. What do you see here? Remember, count the sides because we're looking for the larger shape first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If it has 6 sides and it's a closed shape, it is a hexagon. Remember, not the hexagon we know. That's what we usually think of when we think of a honeycomb, like a bee. But this is still a hexagon. Now, what is it made up of? I'm going to remove my lines because I made it a little messy. What are these 2 shapes? Yeah, this one's easy. This one right here is a square. What is this one? It looks an awful lot like a square. Okay, so a diamond is one name. That's the name I grew up learning. But it can also be called a rhombus, which is like a square. It has 4 sides that are all the same length. It has 4 corners, but they're not square corners. If you were with me last time, you know that if we put a little, if we put a little square in the corner, that would make it a square corner. This one, if I tried to put a square here, let's see if I can do that. See all this empty space down here? It doesn't make a square corner. So a square and a rhombus. Great job. All right, what about this one? What do you think? 1, 2, 3, 4. It has 4 sides. Ooh, I'm going to pause. I know that there are a lot of shapes that this could be with 4 sides. It's a closed shape. It has 4 sides. I already know. I'm going to put a Q here for quadrilateral. It's a big fancy word, all right, for a closed shape with 4 sides and 4 corners. Now, which quadrilateral is it? Do we have a name for this one? Is this a square? No, because it doesn't have equal sides, doesn't have square corners. Is this a rectangle? No, it does have 2 shorter sides and 2 longer sides, but it doesn't have the perfect square corners. If I drew my square here, see all this extra? That wouldn't work. I'm going to leave this one as the name quadrilateral. Now, as you go on, you could get real fancy and give it a specific name. We're going to stick with quadrilateral, okay? Now, let's erase all my writing. Tell me what it's made up of. What do you see? We have 2 triangles, and we just talked about this, a rhombus. Great. Okay, so last one. What about this one? This one, every time I look at this, it reminds me of a volcano or a mountain. Yeah, this one's a little easier. This one has 1, 2, 3 sides and 1, 2, 3 corners. So it is a triangle. And let's erase my writing again. It's made up of what? This shape is a triangle. Then we have this shape. What's that one? Yeah, I didn't trick you at all. Yep, that's a trapezoid. We talked about that last time as well. All right, so this one is also in the quadrilateral family, 4 sides. It has 4 corners, but it's not some of the other ones that we know. Okay? All right, now we just did exactly what we saw in the story. In this part, I'm going to read this whole thing to you, but listen carefully to what I have in bold or in a different color. Marvin Mouse smiled. Yes, I agree. I wonder what the new shape will be. They lined up the triangles with points on each end and watched as the edges were beginning to blend. Look at that, said Sally with a cheer. We made a rectangle. It's perfectly clear. The two triangles fit together so fine, creating the first shape that was truly divine. I see it now, said Robert Rabbit with pride. Two triangles can join to form a rectangle side by side. It's just like magic, but it's really quite true. Shapes combine to make something new. That's exactly what we were just doing. We were taking our smaller shapes, putting them together to build a larger shape. Now that we can compose a larger shape or build with two or more smaller shapes, let's see if we can do the opposite. So let's erase my screen. Let's look here. In the story, they did the same thing that we're about to do. Gina Giraffe gasped. This new idea of mine is to cut the wood in half on the middle line. With a little break, they split it through, and instead of one shape, they now had two. Sally Squirrel giggled. Look at these pieces. Two triangles. Perfect. This task never ceases. And then she goes on to keep telling us about the new triangles she formed. So we're going to do just that. We're going to take a shape and see how we can break it apart. So look at this one. What do I have? Yeah, you're pros now. This is a rectangle. How could I break this apart? Now I'm going to give you a hint. There is more than one way to do this. Also, please be kind. I am drawing, and this is not our art class. This is math. So I'm going to do my best here. But how could I split this apart? If we did just like the story, I could cut it into two triangles. And I apologize now for the line I'm about to make. But we are going to go, that's not terrible. Okay. So if I cut this way, I have two triangles that have been twisted and put together to make a rectangle. That's one way I could do this. What's another way? It depends on the rectangle, but because I made this earlier, I know that if I split it perfectly in half with a very wavy line, that this would be two squares. Now you have to be careful because depending on how long your triangle is, it might end up being rectangle. Depending on how long your rectangle is, it might end up being two rectangles. My example is two squares. All right, let's look at another one. What shape is this? Yeah, this is a hexagon. This one's gonna be fun. All right, how could we break this apart? You think in your head. You can even take your arm and kind of hold it up to the TV or however you're watching this, and you can move your arm different ways and see how you think we might break this up. A very easy way would be a straight line across. Now I've made two of what shape? This is my trapezoid. Right here, I have a trapezoid, and it's like I took another one and put it underneath, just spun it under. That's one way I could do this. What if I did this? What if after I had a trapezoid, I did that? What do I have now? I have a trapezoid. I'm going to put a T here. I'm going to flip back over. This is a little easier. Whoops. Then I have a triangle, and this is a rhombus. Okay? I'm going to show you one more. This one's really fun. You know what I could do? All right. I could draw my line here. I'm going to draw another line here. And I'm going to draw another line here. Thank goodness this is not art class. All right. What do I have? What did I make? I have 6 triangles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I could put 6 triangles together to make a hexagon. All right. And let's stop with this one. What could I do here? How could I split this one up? Okay, so this one's super easy. I'm a mom. I have 2 kids. And if this were a sandwich, guess how they would want to eat it? Like this, with their little triangles, right? And also with the crust cut off and all that. But so if this was a sandwich and we cut it, we could do it like this with 2 triangles. Another way that we could cut it would be this way. Now what do I have? I've now turned my square into 2 rectangles. What if I did it this way? Now what did I make? 4 smaller squares, right? Yeah, and there are even more ways to do this, but that's where we're going to pause. Now, we're going to look at some composite shapes or some composed shapes, shapes that we are making up of smaller shapes. And we're going to see if we can find a pattern. So let's start here. Both of these gray shapes are composed or made up of the same smaller shape. That's a whole lot, so I'm going to say it again. Both of these gray shapes are composed or made up of the same smaller shape. What shape do you think I used? Definitely not a circle, right? Something with edges, corners. There, you are correct. I used squares to make those shapes. So how many squares do you think fit inside that gray rectangle? If you said 2, you are correct. I have 1, 2. Now, you can see here, and I left the line so it would be a little easier to see. I used 2 of these squares to build that rectangle. Okay, so it's the exact same thing. Now, I said it was the same shape, so if we know that we're working with a small square, how many squares do you think make up this composed shape? Yeah, I'm not tricking you today. Look at that. 1, 2, 3. I had 2 here, popped 1 on top, and I made it with 3. Now, we are going to continue going on and making up some other shapes. But before we do that, I want us to name the composed shapes that we made. Now, what do I mean by that? I've kind of already told you the answer, but this is how we would do that. We would count the sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. This has 4 sides. What shape is that? A rectangle, right? You could have also said quadrilateral. That'll work. All right, what about this one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What shape is this? It is not a set of stairs. What is it? 6 sides, and it's a closed figure. It's a hexagon. It's a hexagon. Not what you were thinking probably, but that's what it is. 6 sides, 6 corners. That is a hexagon. All right. Now, what if I wanted to add 1 more square? What do you think? What's that? Yeah, that's just a bigger square, right? I put another little square in here. Now I have a big square. 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, 4 corners. It's a square. What do you think would happen if I added another square? Think in your mind what that might look like. Did it look? Oh, bummer. I got tricked by my own slides. I'll show you what it looks like in just a minute, but maybe we should talk about this first. What am I doing each time that I'm going on? I had 1 square. How did I get to my rectangle? I added another square. How did I get from my rectangle to my hexagon? I added another square. How did I get from my hexagon to a bigger square? I added another square. Now, let's see if I'm right. Is that what you were thinking? Yeah, I added a 5th square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is now a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Uh-oh. We're back to a hexagon. Right. Okay. What if I added another one? What do I have now? It's not a square. What do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. 2 sides are shorter and 2 sides are longer. Yeah, there you go. It's a rectangle. Rectangle. I'm hearing an awful lot of the same words back and forth. Are you hearing rectangle, hexagon, rectangle, hexagon? Me too. I'm going to show you real quick before we sign off today an activity that you can do at home. So I'm going to stop here. I'll put this up to remind you of what you could do at home. I have some sticky notes. So I am going to do the same activity on my table. And you could do this at home as well. If you don't have sticky notes, you could cut pieces of paper. You just need them to be square. So this is what I had first. I had a square. This was just my little guy that I was working with. Then I added another one, and I had a rectangle, right? 4 sides. Then, this is why you need these, because I'm going to use a lot. Then I had 3 of them. Then we said this was what shape? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a hexagon. Then I went through and added some more, and I ended up with 4 sides, which was a square. And then let's see if I can fit one more in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many do I have now? Or what shape do I have now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm back to the hexagon. Look up here on the screen. Before we sign off for today, I want to show you that we have a pattern here. Now I put these little figures so you could remember what they look like, but the number of squares I had 2 squares, it was a rectangle, it has 4 sides. When I had 3 squares, it was a hexagon with 6 sides. Now I'm going to highlight this one real quick. When I had 4 little squares, it was a square with 4 sides. We'll come back to that. Then I added a 5th little sticky note. It became a hexagon with 6 sides. Rectangle, 4 sides. Hexagon, 6 sides. Rectangle, 4 sides. Do you see what's happening? What pattern are you noticing? Yeah, every time I add a new square to this composed shape, it's alternating between hexagon, rectangle, hexagon, rectangle. I'm just changing the number of sides by adding that square. The only thing that doesn't fit is here. But if you remember, if you were with me last time, we talked about quadrilaterals, big word. And technically, a square fits into the rectangle category because it has 4 sides, 4 corners, 4 square corners. But on here, the square, all sides were the same. From then on, each of these had 2 short sides, 2 long sides. You see what we're doing? So this is a really fun activity. I suggest you get some Post-its. Make sure it's okay. Don't use your family's Post-its without asking because it's a lot. But this is an activity, that you could do at home. Okay, it's really fun to experiment, talk about the number of sides, what composed shape you made, and go from there. Friends, remember that shapes are everywhere, just like we saw in the story, like we practiced here today. So keep experimenting, keep learning, keep looking for math, keep doing math, and I'll see you next time.